Hi, I'm Carl with ExpressionsVinyl.com, and we're going to be showing you how to work with our heat transfer t-shirt vinyl today. The heat transfer vinyl is a little bit different from our regular vinyl. It's got two parts to it like the regular vinyl does. There's the vinyl material itself on this side, and then there's a clear backing. When working with this t-shirt vinyl, you have to do everything backwards. You'll put the backing side down on your mat with the vinyl side up, but then everything has to cut backwards on it. And that backing will actually act like your transfer tape when you go to iron it onto your shirt or whatever kind of fabric you decide you're going to use. Okay, so we've got our vinyl loaded onto our mat and into our Cricut. And you can see the backing side that will act like your transfer tape is really shiny, and the actual vinyl side, it has kind of a matte finish to it. And like I said before, everything we want to do, we're going to do backwards. So we're going to start our design, we're going to push our flip button on the Cricut here, and that's going to give us a mirror image of each letter, so they'll look backwards, but when we go to iron it onto our shirt, it'll work right. Okay, and then everything we spell has to be spelled backwards as well. So our design, we're going to say ExpressionsVinyl.com or just Expressions Vinyl, but we've got to spell all that backwards. So I'm going to start, and hopefully I can spell this right. Let's try that again. Okay, so I think that looks right, and then we'll go ahead and start cutting that. I'll get our size set where we want it. We're going to do it 1.5 inches tall here, and we've got our speed set at 2 and our pressure set at 3 with a blade depth of 2 as well, and that works pretty good on this heat transfer vinyl. If you're doing a more delicate font, you might have to slow your speed down some. Okay, so our first line is cut, and it says expressions, and we're going to add another line to say vinyl, and so we'll hit line return. Now the thing about this is that because you're doing everything backwards, the Cricut wants to start at the end, and if we want to line it up to the left like normal writing would be, we have to do a little work to get that there. And so vinyl is going to be our next word, and so that's 5 letters long, and so we'll kind of want to count back, and this is hard to see in the video here, but we'll count back 5 letters, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so we'll want to get our blade started right about there at the end of the E. Now you may want to experiment with your designs and practice cutting them on either a less expensive piece of vinyl or on a piece of paper, just so you can figure out how to get them set up. So then we'll type in vinyl, and again we've got to spell it backwards. So we'll start with the L, and then the Y, the N, the I, and then we'll do a capital V, and then we should be ready to cut that. Okay, so now we've got our second line cut, and we're going to add a little bit more to our design here. And we're just going to add a little detail to the bottom. And again, we're going to come to probably about 4 inches or so here. And again, like I said, this is where you probably want to experiment on a different piece of something so you can figure out how you want to lay all this out so you can get it lined up correctly. Our stuff might be a little bit off here, but we're just trying to show you how to use the heat transfer vinyl. So we're going to add this detail here, and then we'll go ahead and get that cutting. Alright, so we've got our project all cut out, and we've got it taken out of the Cricut, so we're going to trim it up and start weeding it now. So my project only comes down to about here, so rather than wasting all that vinyl, we'll just go ahead and trim that up a little bit. and pull that off of the mat here. Okay, now if you've weeded regular vinyl before, it weeds pretty easy, and this stuff doesn't work quite so well, and that's because this backing that's on here actually has kind of a sticky part to it because there's no actual adhesive on the vinyl. And because of the way that works, it makes it kind of tricky to get the weeding done. But if you can get a corner started, and we'll just try that there. Once you can get a corner started, you have something to hold down onto, and it helps it go smoother after that. And just like with weeding anything, you want to be careful and pay attention as you're weeding to make sure you're not taking anything with it that you don't want to take. Okay, so we're about done with our weeding, getting all the little pieces out that we don't want in here. We just got a couple little ones left. Now we did have a little trouble weeding this that we didn't show on camera, but you might want to make a test cut every time until you're real comfortable with it, and make sure you've got your pressure settings the way you want them. If it's not quite cutting through far enough, you want to up your pressure settings just a little bit. You shouldn't ever have to adjust your blade depth, because if you go to a blade depth of 3, it'll probably cut through all the way. So you can see we've got it lined up pretty good there. If you don't like the way things are lined up, you can always cut the individual pieces apart and iron them on individually rather than all at once. Then you can get them lined up better. Okay, we've got our cutting all done. We've got it set up on our t-shirt here, and you can see you've got the clear film that is on top of the vinyl there, and you're safe to just iron right on top of that. We've got our iron set. This one, it's a 4, but that's between a cotton and poly blend is where it's at. The temperature, ideal temperature for this is 302 degrees. If you have an iron that can be set that accurately. And we're going to want to put a fairly firm pressure on it for about 10 to 15 seconds. And since this is a little big, we'll have to keep moving our iron around. But we just want to make sure we get that heat in there and put a nice pressure on it as we go. And we're doing this on an ironing board. That's not really necessary. In fact, a harder surface might actually work a little bit better for you just on your countertop. You shouldn't be doing it long enough that it's going to cause any problems with that. Alright, and this particular material is a hot or a cold peel. And so we can go ahead and just peel it right off. It looks like now a smaller design that you can, we had a little bit of it peeling up there, so we're just going to iron that back down. A smaller design that you can put your entire iron on at the same time will work a little bit easier for you. Got a little bit more peeling up there. You could even take and do kind of each section. And like I talked before about cutting this all apart and doing it one section at a time, that might be a little easier too. And there you have it, one finished t-shirt.